Hello, podcast friends. It's another edition of Foodie Friday on the Alive and Social Network. Is that air conditioner just a little too loud in the network studios? Or Lydia Page Turner, my lovely and talented co-host, just was, just a little bit, Let's get them all close to the microphone. That's me. That's Lydia. Hi, Lyd.
Hi.
Robin Asbell is here. Let's hear how you sound on the old mic there, Robin.
Hi, I'm here.
It got suddenly old-timey on the old microphone. How we doing on the old microphone?
Right
there,
up to the
Robin.
old.
Robin is an amazing foodie. What's that?
Oh, we're going to crank up the old microphone.
We're going to get it rocking here with Robin Asbell. She's a cookbook author and a chef. She's got some shared stories and history that goes at least alongside known folks in the food community and mutual friends like our old buddy Brian Turner, executive chef at the Loon Cafe. Hello again, Bri.
Thanks for having me back.
A.K.A. Ski Dad. I've been meaning to ask you, where does the nickname come from? Now, Danny Klecko wrote something about you in Food Service News a couple of months back, and he explained it there, but now I'm spacing on the story. Where did the Ski Dad moniker come from? Because you've had it for years.
Yeah, I've never been on a pair of skis, actually.
Oh, irony. My name is Brian Turner.
I'm much too large and much too low to control a pair of skis or something like that. And I slipped and fell and broke my arm when I was in high school, and a guy started calling me that for some reason.
Ski Dad.
And it's been the same ever since. You call the Loon Cafe and ask for Brian Turner, you're not going to talk to anybody.
You got to ask for Ski Dad.
Yeah.
And that's the way everybody knows you.
Yeah.
You were on an early episode of Foodie Friday. Good to have you back, my friend.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate you calling me, and
we'll share some new stories.
Oh, yeah.
One thing we didn't have rocking on the front end of Foodie Friday was the tagline for the show. So, Lydia Turner, if you would, please.
Foodie Friday. Coming in hot, always fresh, never stale.
yeah.
All we need now is a little theme music. Wasn't that The Price is Right or something like that?
I don't know. Yes.
I think
it was.
Yeah, I think it was It actually was The Price is Right
theme song.
Yes, it was. We're going to begin our show with the Foodie Friday 5. Every week we ask our guests the same 5 questions.
We also didn't introduce our final guest.
We didn't? Oh, you're absolutely right. We did not introduce our final canine guest, as the case would be. Please do, Lydia.
Dog.
Please do. And Brian, you can help along, too.
Okay.
We have Ski Dad's dog, Tink.
Tink, come here.
Is it short for Tinkerbell?
No, just Tink.
Just Tink?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just Tink.
Just Tink, please.
Tink's joining us in the studio today, so she doesn't have to sit in the car.
It's just a live conversation that goes on here. So if Tink needs to go, Tink, you just let us know.
She should be good.
And Robin and Lydia and I will chat for a while. And
if we have to go, Tink.
Or if we have to go, Tink, then you guys
Tink
can just
go
hang out and chat for a while. And
Tink can go on the air. And
exactly. It's all good stuff. Yeah, it's all good stuff. I've heard Tink converse, too. She does pretty good.
Yeah, she does. She likes to talk.
She does like to talk. Foodie Friday 5.
We also didn't. We had our tagline, which is new.
Yeah, okay, got that. Yeah.
And the Foodie Friday 5 we did not have.
Yeah, this is true.
Last episode was Ski Dad, so
exactly.
We're starting off with Foodie Friday 5, I think.
I think we should. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, Robin's a new guest to us, and we're getting to know her a little bit better. And Brian, we know a little bit about from previous show and such, but. The Foodie Friday 5 tends to be a very revealing segment. We initially brought it up at the end of the show, and it's a nice show closer, too.
Oh, yeah.
It is a nice show closer, but bringing it up on the front end of the show kind of loosens the room up a little bit.
Okay. Well.
I think we're already doing okay on the loosey-goosey part. I mean...
Well, let's have that.
All right. Lyd, you going to get a lead and a start on the Foodie Friday 5?
Yeah, I definitely will. Let's start with...
Are you going to loop Tink in on this, too, or not? Or
Well, we'll see. We'll see how she's doing.
All right, very good.
Okay. Ski Dad, what's the first thing you ever made by yourself in the kitchen that you had to cook?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate chip? Who taught you that?
Me.
You taught yourself how to make chocolate chip cookies? Was it from a recipe anywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Off the back of the bag.
the Toll House cookie bag. Yeah, the morsels bag there. Okay, got it.
Robin, what's the first thing you ever made by yourself in the kitchen that you had to cook?
I'm pretty sure my mom taught me how to scramble some eggs or something so I wouldn't wake her up in the morning.
That's a good skill to have.
That's a very good one. Yeah. And eggs, just the basic breakfast food. Get the protein rocking. Fill up the belly.
Especially for a little kid.
Yeah. Ski Dad, what's the most pretentious food you crave? As though if someone were looking at it, they'd say, well, look what Ski Dad's eating.
Well, we should preface this, as we do sometimes on the
Please
show,
do.
with we are trying to demystify the term foodie and trying to make food more approachable for everybody. So you're allowed to like potentially pretentious ingredients or meals or drinks, whatever that may be.
Or in some cases, your pretentious food may not be so pretentious at all. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, if I were going to have something really pretentious where people would go, God, where did you get that?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I'd go to the Great Eastern in San Francisco.
Okay.
Dim Sum House, the
Okay.
best on earth, and have the honey barbecue pork. It's, I mean, you can roll your eyes into the back of your head all you want,
Wow. Okay.
but it's all that on a plate, and they bring it, and people are just looking, and you just go, oh my God.
I'm that guy.
You bite into it, and I mean, I think about it 4 or 5 times a week.
No kidding.
Oh, if
It
you
haunts
ever-
you.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a food guy.
Yep.
I would give anything to know how to make it. I mean, it's this huge dim sum house. It's 2 floors,
Yep.
full of people, and they have all the obscure Chinese stuff too. They have frogs and all this stuff that I wouldn't eat. But then the dim sum stuff, the dim sum part of it, which takes an incredible amount of culinary talent to be able to execute all of that, because it's usually about 100 different kinds.
Yeah.
Is just fabulous. I mean, it's beyond anything that we have here.
Well, last good dim sum I had was at Tommy Pham's Wondrous Asian Kitchen. Am I?
Yep. Tom
Tom
Pham.
Pham. Yep. That was
Yeah, I
really
know
good.
Tom. I know
Yep.
Tom from the old days.
I've made a trek out there to go to Yank Sing, also in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's incredible dim sum.
And then right around the corner from the Great Eastern is a place called the Cathay House, which is like a 4-story Chinese restaurant. They have a bartender there. His name is Uncle Charlie. You walk in the door, you automatically do a shot of Hennessy with the guy. I don't know how the guy survives working an entire shift there.
Kidding. His liver's just shot.
He just grabs the bottle, and I don't drink, but he sets it in front of my wife, and bang, bang.
Yep.
Down the hatch it goes, and he just keeps going on, and the place is packed, and they have the Polynesian drinks and all that. So
I like it. I like it. How about you, Robin? What's the most pretentious food you crave?
You just reminded me of my husband and I were in Tuscany about, I don't know, over 15 years ago, and we were in this gorgeous little restaurant, and there was a table of Brits next to us, and we overheard one of them saying, "Oh, the world's most overrated food, truffle."
I think people would say that here too. Yep.
We ate white truffles every day. Shaved over our risotto, shaved over our gnocchi. I mean, there's not a
Shaved
bad
over
Every
my
day.
bath.
Yeah, you're right.
anywhere.
And just big knobby white truffles would come out, and they'd just shave them right over your food, and it was life changing.
I bet. I mean, fresh, just like that. Did you get involved in any of the truffle hunting? Get
No.
out there with the pigs, I guess?
I went to some oil pressing, but no, there was no. The truffles were in.
Yeah.
I think you have to be. They're
Kind of
not
on the
going to
inside
take anybody.
connection,
It's
yeah.
like going to a morel patch.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to show you where they get their
I
truffles.
bet. Yeah, I bet.
If you haven't had white truffles in Tuscany, you haven't lived. You
Tell me,
haven't
darling.
lived.
Darling, I'm
Please.
telling you. But as the British speak.
yeah, I was
apparently.
listening to somebody whose culinary judgment circles around bubble and squeak, Yorkshire pudding, a sick pizza.
Oh, just put some mashed potatoes on the top of it and stick it in the oven for a while. It'll be fine, darling. It'll be fine. You'll love it. Would anyone like some more gravy?
Heinz beans.
Although I will say, when I was in the service and my girlfriend lived in England, and I'd go to visit her family, the only time I ever had gravy was turkey dinner at Thanksgiving and other meals that were similar to that. And I love sauces. And you were a saucier back in the day, so Robin was. And anyhow, that they'd have gravy with every dinner was just I'm 19-year-old Brian Turner, 20-year-old Brian Turner. This is British luxury. First off, I thought it was British. No, it's just the way they eat. But I love gravy. So just could I have some more bread, please? Just sop up some of that gravy, and then you come to realize, well, they're just kind of making it from a foil pack, with a little this and that. But still, it was gravy, and it was served in a boat, and that just was just so charming and so delightful.
Gravy. Everything's gravy.
Everything's coming up gravy. Before we get to the next question,
Okay.
I want to hear a little bit about the oil press adventure in Tuscany. What was that like when you were there visiting?
Well, it was, a lovely place that had they pressed olives and they made wine, and, we went out and watched them. And it was probably just for show.
Okay.
From what I understand with the contemporary olive oil industry, you wouldn't just be pushing it through a press anymore. It's
Sure.
a lot more stainless steel and
Machines and what have you.
But
Yeah.
it was, the whole thing was incredibly life-altering in that I actually tasted real extra virgin olive oil, fresh off the press, all the grassy and peppery and
everything
oil
there.
cough and, just all the flavor that's not in a lot of olive oil. A lot of olive oil now is fake, to be honest. There's a lot of fraud. But it was just... And then you'd go be in restaurants, and the guy was walking around pouring it on food.
Yeah.
That was the sauce. The oil was so good, it was the sauce.
That was the gravy?
It
Is what
was
you're
the
saying?
gravy.
The gravy?
It was
I'm liking
Tuscan
that.
gravy.
Tuscan gravy.
And they're not making this out of a foil pack. I
No.
can assure you.
It was manja.
Yeah, manja indeed. But yeah, that with chunks floating in there as you're taking a little
Yes,
hit
and
off of
just
that, and probably had to
lime
chew a little bit
green
sometimes.
And just again, and that was when we were all trying to cook low fat, or America was in the throes of margarine.
Yeah.
Margarine.
Oh God. Yeah. the killer of flavor, let alone the heart disease causer that it is.
And here we were just drinking olive oil, and it was fabulous.
Knocking back shots of, what about that for irony? We'll use margarine. It'll be better for your heart health. And of course, turnabout's fair play. We learned that it's the absolute opposite. That's the worst thing
Worse
you could
than
ever
drinking
have.
lard.
Yeah, worst thing you can ever have. Oh my God, those hydrogenated oils. Ooh. That's an experience. So I'm already getting a visual on
the smell. I can already smell it.
I'm with you. I know it's more of a manufactured process now in the larger bulk sense, but the thing is, it may be show, but they're showing you the way it was done back in the day, and it just seems so charming and cool and farm-like because it was and is.
A connectivity to the food that
Yeah.
you're consuming,
Yeah.
which is a trend that we've been talking about in this podcast, is being more connected to your food,
Yeah,
knowing where
indeed.
your food comes from.
Indeed. The time I spent as a young man in Crete when I had the English girlfriend, never got a chance to visit any of the presses, that they would do, but enjoyed a lot of that same sort of fresh, just, coming right from the farm olive oil. It was just amazing. You got question number 3 lined up there, Lydia
I
Page?
sure do. Ski Dad, which person in your life taught you the most about food?
A guy named Stan Lundgren.
Where's Stan from in your life?
Well, Stan was originally from California, and I opened 2 restaurants with him, and I was 20, and Stan was 53, and he had been all over. And he was just the type of guy that he was like the don't devein the shrimp kind of guy. Leave the
Okay.
shrimp in the shell and devein them later. And he was the first guy that showed me like Napoles, cactus paddles. I mean, it was
sure.
like, you're thinking about like, the cartoons, the coyote just fell in the cactus.
That looks
And
painful.
we went to like a farmer's market kind of deal, and he bought some of those, and I'm like, what in the hell are you going to do with those?
What did he do with them?
He peeled them and cut them in strips, and you give them a quick bath in boiling salted water, just like you would poach asparagus. Then drain them and set them to the side and let them cool and make pico de gallo out of them.
Oh, my.
Cactus.
Just
pico
this
de gallo.
big heap of, lime pulp and cactus and jalapenos and pickled carrots and all this, and and then make some tortilla chips. And Stan was miles and miles ahead of his time.
Before you peel it, do you use like a potato peeler, that sort of thing?
Yeah,
or?
to knock the spikes off.
And so, that's what I was going to
No.
ask. Do you pull those out first? No, you just
No,
peel them
you
right
just
off.
peel-
Everything
peel
goes
right
all
off.
at once. Yeah, okay,
And
gotcha.
trim the stem end off and then just
And just
peel
go.
them.
Yeah.
But it ends up the paddle, and it's just got spots where the spines have been
Right,
removed.
gotcha.
Is there one lesson that he taught you that kind of you use every day?
Yeah.
What? A couple?
Stan used to say some interesting things.
The glimmer in his eye makes me think it's more of a life lesson or something of that ilk.
He used to say, make for damn sure you got your station ready because you never know what's going to happen. And it was in a busy place, and Stan was always right about that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good lesson to bring forward with anything, though.
Yeah, be ready.
Just be prepared. The Boy Scout motto.
Yeah.
All right. You had that glimmer. Like I said, there's probably more than one Stan lesson. Come on, give us another one or two.
The other ones I can't really say.
See, that's what I'm getting at. I knew we were going there. I knew that's what that glimmer in your eye was all about. Yes, indeed.
But he was a fabulous mentor. He and then at one point he just up and disappeared, and I haven't seen him. And he's probably not still alive. He'd be probably 90 by about now. This was 1980. He was 53 and 80, so.
Yeah.
He's surviving on cacti.
He'd be 88 years old.
Yeah,
so
cacti,
Pico, yep.
Yeah.
he was working like his fifth marriage, and he was a character.
And circa 1980 chef, probably
Yeah.
a fair amount of drinking and cigarette smoking and that sort of thing.
Yeah, drugs and
All of
all
that.
that. So
Although you never know. The Stans of the world sometimes make it over the hump.
yeah, well, I did that. So
There you go, brother. There you go.
Robin, which person in your life taught you the most about food?
Well, it sounds like a cliche, but really my mom and my dad, and I was just thinking about how my dad was a professor of art, and he recently passed, so we've been thinking a lot about him, but it was very big for them to have students and other professors come to the house and teach us about and make food from other countries.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Which was not happening in most Midwestern homes.
And where'd you grow up, Rob?
All around in Ohio and Illinois, mostly. Yeah.
And Dad, you moved kind of where Dad's jobs, his teaching
Yeah.
and professorial jobs took you to then?
And so, my mom had a Japanese roommate in college, and, she used to cook Indian food and stir fry, and, not a lot of other kids' moms were doing that.
Right.
Did she have just a natural interest for different kinds of foods, or was that involved in her upbringing?
They were just both really interested in being more, global, expanding their horizons. And so even when they were broke, when we lived in a small town in Illinois, we'd make a trek out to Chicago to go to, it was a place, Cantonese place, maybe Jimmy Wong's.
oh yeah,
And
Jimmy Wong's. I've been there.
Berghoff's German.
Oh, the
My
Berghoff,
parents
the
loved
classic.
that.
I love the Berghoff, too. Yep, it's still around.
I took them to the German place here,
Gasthouse?
Black Forest.
Black Forest.
Black Forest just celebrated their
The
50th
Black
anniversary,
Forest.
too.
And my mom said, "Oh, it's sort of German light."
Oh, my.
Judgy wudgy.
Which says a lot about the food in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
It was hefty.
Yeah. Oh, my. The Black Forest is German
No
light.
kidding.
Very good. Ski Dad, simply the smell of this food makes you feel the hungriest.
Outside a Chinese restaurant, the garlic and ginger going up the
Wafting.
wafting.
Yep,
Sesame
coming
oil.
out.
Or barbecue. That's
Okay.
like Ted Cook's on 38th and
Oh,
28th.
yeah.
Drive by there and drive through the pallor of smoke, and you got to stop.
Either one of those smells coming out of the vent hood,
Yeah.
coming out of the mushroom on the side of the building, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
While you got the barbecue thing going, tell us a little bit about the adventure down south. You got me that nice T-shirt.
The Salt Lick.
The Salt Lick, barbecue.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's,
so
it's a-
where? Put a place for us. Where is it? It's in the one you visited because they have
It's
multiple
in
locations.
Driftwood, Texas.
Yeah.
It's about 25 miles west of Austin, out in Hill Country.
Yeah.
They have parking for 800 cars and a bunch of different buildings on the property. Like you can have a wedding there.
Yeah.
They have a wine arbor. They have all this stuff.
Robin, you're nodding your head. Have you been there? Or do you know?
No,
okay.
no, I've been down south. Though.
Yeah, down Texas
And
way. Yeah.
the pit is literally in the center of the room. And it's brisket and sausage and ribs and chicken and all the side dishes. You have to bring your own beer. And my wife and I were down there with my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandson, and we went there. And we just sat down. You sit at like picnic tables. Just sat down, and John Cleese walked through the room. What? Walked out. He walked through the room, and I said to my wife, I said, that was just John Cleese. And she goes, well, go get his autograph.
Well, of
so I
course.
grabbed a menu off the table, and I went out the door, and he was with 2 other guys. It must have been his handlers.
Right.
And they were loading him into a Lincoln, service car.
Boom, and
And
away.
they drove away.
Yeah.
But they have a shuttle bus, and the amount of people they put through there, it's just unbelievable. But the food, you'd think for something that large, the food would suffer from that, but it doesn't.
Wow.
That's
they just crank
amazing.
it out and make it good every time. Of course, it begs the question when it comes to Cleese, was he doing a silly walk as he made his way through the salt?
No men piling things on top of other things. Or
I'm guessing it was like a meat waddle. He was
Some-
just stuffed full of brisket.
Yeah.
trying not to be seen.
I've seen John in recent television appearances and video clips and what have you, and I'm just going to say this much: he likes his victuals.
Yeah.
John's tummy has grown in ways that the Slim John Cleese, Silly Walk John Cleese, Monty Python John Cleese that we know, Fish Called Wanda John. Well, we all get those little protrusions as we get older, but John is seeming to enjoy the latter part of his life here when it comes to the food and the wine and such. So
He might have been consuming that when he was younger.
Yeah, could have been too. Robin, the smell of this food, the simple smell makes you feel the hungriest.
I baked for years, and I mean the smell of baking bread. When you walk into a place and they're getting those loaves out of the oven, that or pizza.
Okay, those two,
Honestly.
just the smell.
Just the smell.
Just the smell.
You just think, I know that's going to be good.
Did you have a grandma or someone like that was a baker too that kind of maybe started the narrative in your head of that smell? And your appreciation of it.
My mom taught me to bake bread. Again, I used to do all the baking for our family. Actually, my grandma was a horrible cook.
God bless her soul.
Bless her, but she is an
Bless her
example
heart.
of exactly what No, my grandma was a character. She lost her sense of taste and smell in a motorcycle accident.
Really?
No.
And she made the most awful food. I think the only thing she could. She could only taste sweetness, so she oversugared everything.
Yeah.
She sometimes served spoiled food.
Oh no.
Because she couldn't tell.
She couldn't taste or
couldn't
smell.
tell.
She could not taste or smell, and she smoked like 4 packs of Cools a day.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, she was not the paragon of grandma baking.
Yeah, and for her, a cool cigarette was probably just a light touch of mint as it made its way in. Just sort of the hint of mint
Just
as
the
it was
hint,
going down.
while
Yeah.
the rest of us was reeking. Oh.
Some kind of didn't have a helmet on, and it's something a brain injury of
yeah,
some
it's a
sort.
brain
yeah,
injury.
Sure. Wow. Oh, what a shame. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do.
I have a friend whose ex-boyfriend was in a skateboarding accident and lost his sense of smell.
Oh, my
but she always liked that. I don't have to shower for like 4 days. He doesn't know. It's great.
I can live my bohemian girlfriend lifestyle. This is fantastic.
I had a friend in college who was blind, and so her boyfriend hung Penthouse posters all over. It was really weird to go to her room.
I always forgot that he lost his sense of smell, so I was like, "Oh my god, this smells so good!" Just do it, living life. We would go, we would go shopping, doing all the things.
I'm
oh my
so
god,
sorry.
Spencer, bring it in here. Yeah. Oh yeah, this smells great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia.
Oh, sorry. Sorry
Oh
about
no,
it.
poor guy. Oh man, poor grandma and poor you guys. We're going to. You guys are spending the weekend at grandma's.
In the blue haze of cool cigarette smoke. Just that layer.
That would permanently live in the.
Grandma,
all
I
of
can't
the
see
rooms.
you. Grandma, are you there?
Duck down, kids. Grandma's right over here. Look for my legs. Oh, Grandma, you need to shave those. Oh,
All right,
Grandma.
we're on our last question of the Foodie Friday
Yes,
5.
we
We
are.
gotta hop it on into shape here. Ski Dad, what's your guilty pleasure food?
Ice cream.
What kind of ice cream? Kind
Well,
of an
I make fabulous ice cream.
I know you do.
And
Does Tink need to go out or anything?
no, she's just making noise.
So come here. Let me see.
Come here, take one. Go over there.
Come here, Tinker. Come here,
I love like cherry ice cream.
Cherry ice cream.
Like the best part of eating at the Nankin in the old days was at the end of the meal. No, it wasn't the best part, but the rum cherry ice cream at the end. And I've done a lot of research into that, and that's my next ice cream I'm
Try
gonna
to
make.
replicate that one.
Just
Yeah.
make a rum cherry, and it's got rum and amaretto in it.
Okay.
And then you take the dark sweet cherries and sugar them, and then let that drip into the rum and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then you reduce that to a syrup, and that's the base
Okay.
for the ice cream that goes into the cream mixture.
Yeah. Oh, that just sounds great.
And I was telling your dad when he was over to my house a couple Saturdays ago, my biggest success thing I've ever done in a junk store was I bought a 6-quart White Mountain electric ice cream maker at Unique Thrift on 44th and Winnetka
quart?
A
for
big guy.
$7.
Oh my God.
I didn't know what they had.
They're $275
Didn't know what
bucks
they
a
had.
kitchen window. And I looked at it, and it's like, it's got all the parts,
It's all
and
here.
they like to change the prices sometimes when you get to point of sale.
Yep.
I just walked up and threw $9 on the counter and said, just keep the change, and I walked out the
Yeah.
door.
Yes.
And you have to walk up with a sort of casual demeanor.
Yeah.
One that
Don't
says,
get too excited
one that
about
says,
that. Or,
I could care less about this piece of junk. Here's the money. You know, whatever.
but it turns up perfect ice cream in 20 minutes.
How old is that machine now?
It's probably about 15 years old,
Okay, and
but
still-
I've only had it about 5, but it makes just fabulous ice cream.
Well, you know, and the guess probably is if you found it at a thrift store, the person who donated or cashed it in didn't use it.
No,
that
it
much.
had never
Right.
been. It had never
Yeah.
been used.
Yeah.
The wood. It's got the
It's
wood.
probably a gift.
Yeah, right.
That is
right.
lucky.
It's got the. It's the Dasher has the wood. Now they have the plastic ones. This one has the wood.
Oh, the wood paddles in there.
Wood
Yeah.
feathers on it,
Yeah.
and that
Oh,
turns
yeah.
it out of there. And then what's nice about it is you make something like that for an event. You pull the Dasher out, and the osmosis of the melting ice and salt.
The salt
and all that
ice, yeah.
keeps it the perfect scooping temperature, so you can dip right out of the.
Oh, gee,
They
that's
call
sweet.
it the shotgun can because
Yeah.
it looks like a shotgun shell.
Oh, sure, okay.
But it keeps it at the perfect scooping. Ice cream has to be tempered. You can't eat rock hard ice cream.
No. You got to have it just at that right level. That right level. Robin,
right.
one more to go.
Robin, what's your guilty pleasure food?
I was just thinking, the only time I ever eat French fries is in a French kind of a restaurant with aioli. Now that I will just dig in and eat every single one of them while they're hot.
Any kind of special aioli? Truffle,
Truffle
or
and
garlic?
garlic.
Well,
Yeah.
White truffle.
just funky, garlicky.
Yeah.
I like the garlic to bite me back.
Garlic tarragon type, tarragon reduction type thing. And
Do you get territorial?
I'll stab you with a fork.
Get your fingers away from there, mister.
Oh, I didn't know we were sharing. Are we sharing? Should we get another order? Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Know that. Neat.
Get him away, Buster. Get him away.
So, Robin, I'm really intrigued at your background, your family background. I'm hoping you can talk to us a little bit more about it. But father's a professor, bringing in all these different kinds of cultures and ethnic foods. Is there one that sticks out for you as your favorite, or?
It was just always so exciting, and the fact that they got so excited about it, to where I started doing all the baking, and I would cook to make my parents happy, and gosh, I remember it was the coolest thing ever that my mom used to make this curry where she would put chopped peanuts out, and the idea of putting peanuts on dinner, that we could just put peanuts on dinner was absolutely wonderful. And my dad had a student who was a really great student who went on to be a professor now, who was from Sicily. And his parents had a home just outside town, and we would go to their house, and it was just incredible Italian food. And he came back from, he went and visited and brought back a piece of lava. I think I still have a piece of lava from Mount Etna that he
Oh my
gave me.
gosh.
So, but it was just amazing to try different stuff. And
Was your household always like this growing up, or were you 12 years old when he started bringing people over and bringing in different food, or has food always been around?
it was always, it was sort of different schools, different places where different stuff went on. And it's funny, I look back now, professors would not get away with what, went on at our house, let's just say.
Like what?
A lot of students coming over
Just
and
hanging out, yeah, right.
drinking,
Yep,
and there was a
yep.
lot of stuff going on that you might get fired for now.
Yeah.
So so students came over. They thought my dad was the coolest guy in the world, and I thought college kids were the coolest thing in the world. And there was a lot of partying.
Yeah. At a different era, indeed. But also, I mean, look at the latitudes it brought into the family. I mean, how many sibs, with you?
I have a younger sister and an older brother.
Okay, and so how much older for your brother? So what I'm getting is, was he a college kid at one point, and then Or were you? I mean,
Yeah,
were you
he
guys
was
living
just-
at home or not? When
yeah,
the
he
college
was
thing was
just
still going on?
a couple of years older than me. So
Okay.
yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all there, hanging out, eating.
Yeah, and mom, was she? She was hip to the whole thing too. It was all just
and she was a great cook. My mom cooked all our food.
okay.
I would say
yeah.
that was the
like
primary.
you said, your influence, your mom. Yeah.
She cooked. She actually cooked all our meals. So there was except when we went out to eat, but she actually was there. I'll never forget it. After school, just go talk to mom while she's cutting up a chicken.
Yeah, making something for dinner.
Making dinner.
When you mentioned that your mom taught you how to make bread too, was your lesson so far along then by that eventually? Because I remember my grandma, and I wish I would have taken the lesson from her and just did it with her. I always loved eating the end product, but she would just take everything out and just make bread. I mean, there was never any measuring. She just knew, okay, about this much handful here, and this much here, and a little bit of this. And I mean, did you get to that point with making bread too with your mama? Or
My mom was a teacher. And so she gave us recipes. So there
was a little more measured then. Yeah, okay,
we were
gotcha,
measuring. And
gotcha.
there was the Betty Crocker cookbook and all those cookbooks. And I always tell the story that when I told my mom I wanted to be a vegetarian, which she saw coming, she made me write a report. So she had me read The Diet for a Small Planet by Frances Moore Lappé, and write her a paper on how I was going to get my protein.
And one of those breakthrough books too.
It was a
back
big
in
book.
back in the day, right?
It was the book that convinced everybody you could, in fact, survive as a vegetarian. So and that changed my life.
How old were you when you had to write the paper for Mama?
16.
And did she grade it?
No, she just gave it a read over and said, okay, you know what you're doing.
All right, very good. That's very cool. And that was the epiphany moment for you at that age, that 16 years old. It's like, I'm not going to... Were you cutting back on eating meats before that, and then you finally said, I'm making the transition now, or how was it for you as a kid?
I had been talking about it for a long time.
Yeah, okay.
In part because my dad and my grandpa and my brother hunted. So that I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
I always say, you might be a vegetarian too if you had to eat squirrel. It was they would go with my grandpa and they would hunt all these squirrels, and then they would skin them and give the skin and whatever to the dogs who would run around tearing it up in the yard.
Okay.
And they would put the skin squirrels in a bucket on the porch with their eyeballs kind of googling out.
Oh, Dad, Grandpa.
And
Geez.
that's really
formative.
imprinted on me when I was
I would-
little.
I
Like
would
that
say.
kind of, and it's kind of like a kitty, you know.
Well, yeah, and they're out there gathering nuts
They're
in the
so
yard.
cute, and I could just eat this little something else instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Beans are looking really appealing to me right about now, Robin says. Really appealing. All kinds of beans.
yeah,
What an interesting background, though, for you to have that sort of visual and visceral experience really affect you in a way that's led you to a lifestyle that you continue and continue on a professional level to this day.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that's to stay at something like you do on a professional level. I think is very admirable. I think that's a really cool thing.
Do you feel like you're predisposed for food with your background the way that it is?
I do. I mean, I was always heading toward food. I did go to art school, degree in art.
What kind
So
of art?
in Dad's footsteps there. Okay.
Yeah. I was a painter and a sculptor. I did some glass, some bronze, and all that kind of stuff. But I worked in restaurants the whole way through. So I actually decided I thought I could have more of an impact on people's lives cooking than making art.
Was there a point with like a tipping point for you that occurred and during that time that may have pushed you more towards food than art?
Yeah, I was in graduate school in Champaign, Illinois, in the sculpture program, and I was working in a vegetarian restaurant and reading a lot about the power of food to change everything, the environment. And this was a while back. It wasn't as prominent a thing to talk about your carbon footprint and, the effect that you could have on the environment. And so I just really felt that it was the way to go. I enjoyed it so much.
The sort of the industrialization of the food world wasn't quite there yet at that time. There were facets of it, but a lot more family farms still around then. Still a lot of truck farms actually bringing in fresh produce and such, and not so much of that 1% of a population base living on all and working on all the farmland, as it used to be 50% of the population base, doing it in America.
Well, and it's interesting because I was at the U of I and I lived in central Illinois, which the farming was already very industrialized. And I detasseled corn for my summer job, which will tell you how tough I must have been, right?
Yeah.
Hot sun.
Yeah.
But it was already...
in that zone, I would imagine,
it was, they had to buy the corn, it was already the corn companies owned everything. The farmer was almost like a McDonald's franchise or something. They didn't actually get to really own anything. And I worked in fast food restaurants, and that was very formative because I was like, no one should ever eat this stuff. So, food out of packages with unpronounceable ingredients and things going on. I thought, I don't think most people really realize what's going on with their food.
No, they don't. No, not at all. No, absolutely not. So a lot of formative things there for you as well. When was your first cookbook? When did you come up with the very first one?
2007 was, I think, it came out.
Okay. And which one was that? Because
the new whole grains.
The new whole grains one. So that was the first one then. Cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And then you've got a long line of them now, including the juicing thing and all sorts of stuff. So your adventures have gone off in a lot of different directions. The juicing thing seemed to hit a big peak a while ago, and then it seemed to fall off of favor. I guess more in a pop culture way, not so much in a foodie way, but in a pop culture way. But are people still embracing it, and are people still getting into it in in a healthful eating manner?
Yeah, and I just see juice as it's a part of a healthy, balanced diet. I don't see it as like a
substantive.
No, you don't, go on juice for a week at a time or anything like that. I just, you juice once in a while to add a little bit of extra
Boost.
Plant to your diet, so, but I'd say, there's juice bars opening all the time.
Yeah, well, and I was going to bring that up. Yep.
Yeah.
That seems to be more of a trend now, and that people are really flocking to them. They're gravitating toward them, and they're finding a lot of healthful stuff going on with those. Like Truce, I love those guys. The Truce Juice Bar in Uptown Minneapolis. They do a fantastic job there.
Yeah, great juicing. And
would you say the same thing applies as we were talking about fast food? When you're buying or somebody's buying juice off the shelf or out of the refrigerator case at a grocery store, they have no idea what's going on with that juice. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. When you tell people, the difference between, I don't know, some of those where they pulp up some, and cook down some fruit puree and then, douse it with a little bit of something else. No, fresh juice is a totally different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Do you ever do the juicing thing there, Ski Dad?
No, I haven't really. I guess the desire is there.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you. Okay, in your opinion, there seems to be two thoughts on all this now. It's the juice extractor and then people using like a Vitamix or something. Which is your preference?
It's funny. I get that question a lot. There's basically, I see juice as a drink and a smoothie as a meal. So,
right.
Okay.
So you can juice, and that's just that takes most of the fiber out. Although if you use nowadays they're making the juicers, especially the extractive kind, they call it a masticating juicer, to leave more fiber in.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put it in the Vitamix, that's the whole thing, right? Yeah. It's, whole whatever it is. And a lot of people want to drink just a, glass of super thick kale puree, let's just say. But I do smoothies. When I get home from the gym, I do my big smoothie with my spinach and my blueberries. And then I make green juices and other juices other times. So I think I'm into both. I have both. So
It seems that the Vitamix Ninja type way is a lot more convenient in that you just throw it in there and let it run and it, and then
away you go.
You don't necessarily have to put protein powder or anything into it, but just that whole juice type thing.
And the whole vegetable.
And the whole juicing concept is incredibly old. They've been juicing in Mexico for years, where there's roadside stands where they have cucumbers and all this stuff is all prepped, and whatever it is you want, they throw it into a blender, and who knows what else has been in the blender, but
nothing quite like going to Jamaica and having that tropical stuff on the beach. And they might throw in a little rum.
Yeah, sure.
Who knows?
I'm thinking, what Brian was getting at.
Yeah, up on the roof of the shed.
But how does a juicer work? So you mentioned there's different kinds, but I mean, essentially, when you're getting that pure liquid out, there's masticating models, like you said, so that's going to chew it a little bit more. It's going to put some teeth on it. But is there a blade rotating in there, and is there something then that squeezes it as well? I mean, am I kind of hitting it there? I've never seen how one really works.
See, what they'll call a high-speed one, that actually it's like a superfine shredder, and that's actually not as good because it heats the juice and it doesn't. They're better for, say, carrots and not so good with leafy greens. But the slow juicer or masticating juicer, it's actually just an auger that crushes it.
Okay.
So it just presses the juice out, and the fiber comes out one side and the juice comes out the other. And that way it's not really cut or shredded as much as just crushed.
And the heat thing, because
And no
I would
friction.
imagine, you wouldn't want the heat thing to be a part of it, right? Because like anything, it's going to break down the nutritional value of it and lessen the.
There's
impact.
also stuff temperature wise that is dangerous in regards to from a health.
That if you heat it, it becomes not
like
so
our
helpful
like
for
our
you.
Caesar dressing that we make at the restaurant. Everything gets refrigerated. The olive oil, the vegetable oil,
Sure.
the egg yolk. We buy pasteurized processed egg yolks, all that. Because if you make it with the warm oil off the shelf, it's going to sit in the danger zone by the time it's done because of the friction.
Yeah. Okay.
So if everything's refrigerated, you sidestep that.
Yep. Gotcha. And you got to keep that HACCP rule in place and all that. Keeping the cold things cold rule. Yeah.
Yeah, cold things cold, hot things hot. Pretty
Yeah,
simple to figure
right
that
on.
one out.
Right on. Robin, I know lately you've been really concentrating on, and the Whole Grains book being your first one, but there's a whole initiative now with a lot of folks where it's that single bowl and everything's, just in that one bowl. I mean, everything's there. You got your grains in there, you got your veggies in there. It's sort of an old, it kind of looks like an old way of eating. Is it? I mean, is it sort of an old human way of eating, just having everything in one spot?
Yeah, it's just interesting how we sort of, in the food writing business, in the food restaurant business, you're just kind of packaging and repackaging food into different sort of little formats. It's like a little reformat. But yeah, the Buddha bowl actually is a reference to, actually in countries that have a Buddhist tradition, the monks will live a life of poverty where they actually wander around asking people for food with a bowl.
Okay.
And so the Buddha bowl is this sort of mock-up of like, well, what if somebody gave you this, this, and this? It would generally be rice-based, and people would just pile stuff on there. The interesting thing is that although a Buddhist cannot take a life, they can eat whatever is given to them.
Okay.
So those guys will eat whatever you give them, bacon, whatever. Doesn't matter. They're monks. So
They're there to receive.
they will take it because it's free.
Yeah. And so hence the whole idea, everything in one bowl.
Everything in one bowl.
Now, for home cooks and folks that are doing it for their family, I mean, can you give us a few ideas about some efficiencies that we can, a crock pot or just right on the stovetop? Or, what are some of the good ways to sort of make these single Buddha bowl type dishes with everything fit right in there?
The great convenient way to work with whole grains is make yourself a big batch at the beginning of the week, right?
Okay.
If you want to make something, people complain that they take too long, although, you can make some that are quicker. Quinoa is 15 minutes. That's no slower than white rice. Make yourself a big batch of grain, and then you can just build on it with your proteins and your vegetables, whatever you want to do. I'm working on having different sauces and dressings that you can throw in there. Keep some condiments and stuff around, and you can just build yourself a bowl out of good stuff.
Robin, I'm curious, what's in your pantry? How do you stock your pantry?
A lot of stuff.
But I would imagine it's a lot of dry stuff, I would think, right?
Yeah. I've got a lot of greens and.
Is it a lot of weekly runs to the grocery store to keep up with fresh vegetables and fresh fruits in your pantry? Or are there things that you stock up on, like rice, like lentils, beans, sweet potatoes, things of that nature?
My food life actually revolves around recipe development.
Okay.
So in a lot of ways, I probably shop 2-3 times a week, and it's all about just, I have a list of things that I have to get done, and I have a list of foods I have to get those things done. And, you try to keep everything on hand, and, but it's interesting because I don't really have as much control over it as a lot of people, because it just depends what I've pitched and what people are buying. Because I also write for websites and magazines, and so you never know. It might be a cookie assignment with just like cookies all week. You know,
Bummer.
that's not as often though.
Yeah.
My husband would wish that were more
Dang
often.
it. Yeah, chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Dang it. But like Brian does, I mean, he's a chef. You develop recipes. That's what you do. I mean, but you're doing it essentially in your home kitchen, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, yeah. These are all for home cooks.
Yeah, nice. Does your husband and do your family enjoy the fruits of these endeavors? Then, I mean,
Yes, although it's funny, I always joke that people, when guys hear that my husband is married to a chef, they think it's like being married to a porn star. But I'm betting that guys who are married to porn stars, their wives come home tired too.
Take that Gato Barbieri music off the turntable.
I'm wearing sweats, honey.
Yeah, honey.
But no, and it's great. But again, he's along for the ride. So whatever
Right.
I'm making is what he's getting, and he may not have as much choice in the matter as he might like.
I find it interesting that what was I lost my train of thought.
I have no idea.
I
where
have
you're
no
at.
idea where I was going with that. I have no. Maybe the analogy between chef and porn star, and I thought Brian would answer that. Perhaps I totally lost my train of thought. Well, that'll
People
happen.
do
occasionally.
like it when you cook for them.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. And it's a wonderful gift that you can give to your family every day. I'm still trying to find it. I'm still searching there. Where was it? Well, at least I fessed up to it.
So I recently made a pot roast. Speaking of making food for people and feeding people, I recently made a pot roast. Is there a slow cooker vegetable-based recipe that you really like as a go-to, or is there such a thing as needing to slow cook vegetables?
You can do anything in a slow cooker. I've recently had an assignment doing a bunch of gluten-free slow cooker recipes
Ooh.
for a book Cooking Light was putting out, of all things. And I made pizza in there, cake, cobbler. You can do anything in a slow cooker. It's just that my mindset was always that it had to go for 8 hours, right? But you can do things in there that are shorter term.
Okay.
A slow cooker for a vegetarian would just be a great place to put your beans, so you could come home to done beans and things like that. Also, some people who like to make mock meats out of, say, gluten will put them in there. Mm-hmm. But I don't do that often.
Gotcha. Something that I'm really interested in, just within my own diet, is trying to find those meals that aren't compromising on flavor, but are still giving you that vitamin hit that you're looking for. What can you think of a slow cooker recipe that is not compromising on any of these flavors, that is plant-based or grain-based, that people might be able to use, or specifically I might be able to use?
A big one that I like to do, and I don't do it as much in the slow cooker as in the rice cooker, but it's just whole grains like brown rice or wheat berries, coconut milk.
Okay.
So, anything with coconut milk, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Coconut milk, enough liquid with the coconut milk to cover the grains. Throw in your tofu, tempeh, and that way they get, and all the whatever, green curry, red curry, Indian curry, whatever you want to do. Harder vegetables that you won't mind getting really cooked, like carrot, cabbage, that kind of stuff, and cook that all together. And that way the tofu gets nice and flavorful without having to do a bunch of fooling with it, because I think people get freaked out about fooling with it. And the whole thing gets all done at once, and just open that up and pitch in a handful of mint or cilantro or something, and you're good to go.
That sounds amazing.
All right there for you.
Ski Dad, what's your favorite slow cooker recipe?
Pot roast.
Pot roast?
Pot roast or Coca-Cola carnitas.
What?
Yeah, you get a pork shoulder, you brown it, and then it's garlic and chipotles and onions and a brown pork shoulder. You put it in an electric pressure cooker and pour a couple bottles of Mexican Coca-Cola in
So
it.
the sugar-based Coca-Cola. Yeah.
And let her rip.
Yeah. And what's that, about a 40-minute cooking cycle on that?
About an hour.
Okay,
And then there's two trains of thought on carnitas to Mexicans. One is the stewed type. And then a lot of times what they'll do is they'll get it with the pork shoulders done where you can just literally pull the bone right out of it. Mm-hmm. And they break it into chunks, and it gets dusted in flour and fried in lard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to do it Mexican
to crisp
style.
it up, but then you get this platter of this meat that is just falling apart but crunchy on the outside.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
And then corn tortillas right off the grill, and pico and guacamole and all that, and that's pretty good like that.
I like that we have two very different ways of thinking about
exactly.
food right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
It's
Actually, I was just going to share. I was in Chicago for a conference, and I went with Rick Bayless on a Chicago carnitas tour
Oh,
of all things.
what a gas.
And I got to go, and I was in there, the vegetarian stand next to the hanging hogs,
Yeah.
and they were on big scale, though. They were doing that carnitas you're talking about, where they had the giant vat of pork fat that they were frying it in afterward, and then we went to the tortilla factory, and I got to watch them making the real tortillas, but.
What kind of vegetable substitute do you use, for that sort of thing? A tofu sort of thing, or just do more of a bean and vegetable thing?
Beans, and you can do vegetables. You can do a big thing the vegans are doing, which I haven't really caught on to, is jackfruit of all things. It has a weird meaty texture.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Durian. You put enough barbecue sauce on there, it can really seem.
Can you grill it then and that sort of thing? Is that the idea with it?
Well,
or?
they usually just kind of fry it up with some sauce, but. Yeah, I do a ton of Mexican food. I just really, really like, a quesadilla or a nacho.
Yeah, well, Lid makes a cauliflower and chickpea thing, that has a real...
Cauliflower chickpea tacos.
Tacos, yeah, and those are delicious.
They're my
they got that
favorite.
nice meaty, taste to them. That cauliflower cooks up meaty-like.
And you get some fresh slaw on
Yeah,
it,
just
cilantro,
delicious.
lime, perfect.
Yeah. I wanted to dial in with Ski Dad here before we're done with the show today. And by the way, thank you both for being here, Robin Asbell and Brian Turner from the Loon Cafe, a.k.a. Ski Dad. A summer tradition is happening once again in the Ski Dad world. So I want you to paint a picture for us of what a night at the Valley High Drive-In is like. Because it's not... What I love about it is... And Brian throws invites out there in the social media world, to Facebook friends and elsewhere.
And no one has ever taken us up on it.
Here's what's going on, and anybody that wants to come, here we're going, and here's the double feature, triple feature, and we're making this, and you can bring that. But just sort of give us a little outline of, the planning, how you the cold storage, the warm storage. You bring the grill out. What do you do?
Yeah. It's usually I take like the portable grill, take the dog, a cooler. We've had Vietnamese pork skewers on the grill.
Nice.
The tiny pieces of meat, deeply marinated. They only have to cook a couple of minutes. We've had burgers, Loon Cafe chili, drinking beer, all that. The when you go out there, like we're going tomorrow night. The movie won't start until 9:30.
Sure.
We never stay for the third movie. I'm much too old for that. You wouldn't get home till 4 in the morning. The people start lining up. The gates open at 7. There's usually North Hudson Road. There's cars all the way back up to Manning.
Oh my
People waiting to get in there.
Jeez, that's good.
And then there's 50 cars at the head where you turn into it to get up to the ticket booth.
Yeah.
But what I found out last year was the fence line that runs along the Valley High when you're driving in there is covered in wild grapevines.
Wow. So you're going to go out there, you're going to ask them if you can do a little harvesting out there?
About mid-August, they're ready to go, and they're about as big around as the end of my little finger, and they have a huge pit in them, but they make the best grape jam ever.
No kidding.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
But this whole thing at the Valley High, it's just crazy. People bring couches and love seats. And there was a guy out there the first year we went, he was working like 5 grills. What are you running, a restaurant out there?
Yeah, what are you charging a little bit for the food?
But there's parking for 600 cars, and there's usually 4,000 or 5,000 people in there.
Going back to what your mentor Stan Tink wants out. He's like, I'm done.
The door here to the studio was just kind of going, "Reep, reep, reep," and it's kind of an older house. I didn't know if it was ghost-like or Tink-like.
It's dog
It's
nature.
Tink-like, yes.
Going back to your mentor Stan, and one of the lessons that he taught you of always being prepared for anything, getting everything set up the way that you want it. When you're bringing all this food out, how much prep ahead of time are you doing, or are you doing some of it there?
No, it's all ready to go, on the grill, and then it's in small containers of stuff. Like the last time we went, we had broccoli, cauliflower, coleslaw, and some sausages from Hacks on the grill. I mean, that's hard to go wrong with that.
Hackenmuller's meats
Salted
in
and shell
Robbinsdale.
peanuts, cold beer type of thing. My wife has cocktails usually, and it's really a fun evening. Tink has a couple of $1 hot dogs.
There you go. What's the feature, triple feature this week?
San Andreas and the Road Warrior movie, and then the Avengers one.
Oh!
But did you see the latest Avengers movie?
Yeah,
I
The
thought
Age
it
of
was
Ultron?
awful. Yeah, I thought it was
I
awful.
enjoyed it.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like
I
it.
didn't like it.
It started, usually there's that Robert Downey toss of some humor in there.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong or whatever and all that. There wasn't any of that. It was instant
reaching.
action, and I didn't care for it.
I guess it's maybe my huge Spader fandom because his snarky, role in the lead character there, the Ultron, it just kind of carried me through it. But I did not think it was my favorite of any of the Avengers movies by no means. But, like I said, I liked it, but it wasn't a great one for me. But I enjoyed it well enough. This is the last of the drive-ins in the metro area, isn't it?
There's 3. There's the Valley High that's in just east of Woodbury.
Yep, by
almost
Radio
to Wisconsin,
Drive. Yep,
yeah.
right.
Then they took the old Cottage View and moved it out to Elko and put it on the opposite end of the parking lot.
I didn't
for
realize
Speedway.
that. Okay, very good.
We haven't been to that one yet because it's too regimented for me. They search your car. You can't
Oh, no,
bring
no,
anything
no, no.
in. You
Really?
can't- I mean, I'm not hiding people in the trunk.
No, I'm just
I mean,
bringing some food in.
if I had your Lincoln to go to the movie with, we'd have 6 people.
Oh, yeah, easy. 7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah.
With their
But
grills.
you can't
And
bring
dogs.
anything in, and they have a bar there. I mean, you can actually have a drink or beer or whatever, but you have to stay within the bar area.
Not liking this at all. Yeah.
And then there's another one.
Good luck, Elko, folks.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
the old Starlight that's out in Litchfield. We drove out there
But
last
see, that's
year.
not metro. That's 50-mile drive. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Even
And-
Elko's a 40-mile drive. So that's what I'm
And-
thinking, with Woodbury, more, larger metro area. Valley High is the last one. Yeah.
But the Starlight is walking her last mile. They should have closed it like 40 years
The Litchfield guy?
The Litchfield one.
5 screens out there, if I remember right.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Four
and
screens.
one of the screens is like 4x8 sheets of plywood painted
no.
white. No kidding. With people like sitting in their lawn chairs, looking at this. Well, that's not really a drive-in.
Well, it sounds. What I got at by asking you about it is it just sounds like culinary fun.
There's
beverage
people,
fun.
Yeah, there's
and
people out there cooking
Like you
all
said,
kinds
yeah.
of stuff. And I made some all-white chicken burgers last year, and I really zinged them up with some cilantro and garlic and jalapenos. And we had gotten some ghost pepper jack cheese at the Loon that I was making ghost pepper juicy Lucy's with.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So there's these people next to us, and I said to the guy, "Do you like spicy stuff?" And he's, "Oh, I love spicy. Here, try a slice of this cheese." And this guy's like, "Oh my god, it's the hottest."
Ghost pepper is not to be messed with lightly.
No, not at all.
Not to be slighted with.
So we use dried crushed habaneros at the Loon. They're $50 a pound, and they are absolutely volatile. I mean, you could take a pound of those and dump them in Target Field, and the place would be empty in 5 minutes. You couldn't be able to stand it.
Really?
The breading that we make, it's a 30-pound bag of Japanese breadcrumbs, and it's a 4-ounce portion cup of those peppers. You dig a channel in it, and I just pour a stripe of it down and immediately cover it up. Then I have to make the guys mix it. I go, "You guys mix it this time." I already know how to sneeze.
I'm getting out of here.
I'm in my office, and they pour it into this bin, and it's like turn the fan on, and you just
Mace.
Yeah.
It's like being maced in the face.
I wonder how
Pepper
many.
spray.
Yeah, how many Scoville units or million Scoville units on those? I think it's just over the top.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Before we say so long, thank you, Tink.
Bye,
Tink.
Tink.
Thank you,
What do you
Tink. She finally got an answer in.
What? What do you say?
Good
You
girl,
want
Tink.
Daddy put the peanut butter? What do you say?
Oh no, just teasing. No, you don't have any peanut butter here.
No. What do you say?
Okay. We had this come up in a conversation, a couple, 3 weeks ago about having more vegetarian entrees woven into main menus. We don't, we're just not seeing that a whole lot. There's always a protein. There's always a meat. What are your? Go ahead, Lit.
Or it's always seen as the healthy option. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
noted as the healthy option,
Instead
which
of
if
just
you note it,
Instead of the main
Instead
event.
of just
and
being
that-
there, yeah. And what's your vibe on that? And I'm guessing you're thinking the same thing, that not just at the vegetarian oriented restaurants, but just at fine restaurants and what have you. I'm guessing you.
Yeah, there's no reason. And actually, I mean, there is a big movement now where the hot chefs, on the coasts are showing that they can strut their stuff with vegetables.
Okay.
That they can make a vegetable work. and show their skill and, and braising it, roasting it, grilling it, making a steak out of it, and so it's a real trend. And I think a lot more people would order it. Number one, if you didn't call it healthy or make it just be the one stupid healthy thing on the menu because it's like
and it's down in the corner
next
the
to
eggplant has probably been sitting there all day
just above the kids menu. It's like for healthy options, blah.
Yes, and here's your steamed something. It's
steamed fish. Thrilling.
Yay.
Because it's there's absolutely, if you can't make some good food without meat, you need to learn some skills. I'll just lay down the glove, throwing it down, saying, if you call yourself a chef and you cannot make some really good food without the crutch of bacon fat, then you need to learn a few things about using other flavors.
Sounds good. The gauntlet has been thrown from Robin Asbell. I'm digging it. I'm loving it.
And a little
challenge you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm hoping we see that if it migrates in from the coasts, or maybe we'll see something more of a wellspring happen among chefs here in the Twin Cities area, because it certainly is deserving, not just for people that only eat that way, that only eat vegetarian or vegan, but just people that just want to enjoy a fine dining experience that doesn't have meat as the protein.
Is there a dish that you make, Robin, that people are surprised doesn't have meat in it? Or have you tricked anyone? Or is there one that you're like, I don't even need meat. Of course I don't need meat. I haven't needed meat forever, but...
Yeah, I don't, there's so many things. It's just so funny. Like the other night I taught a class and we were making just some, we made some tofu. And it was interesting because this group had come who had just come for a team building. They hadn't even really cared that it was vegetarian. And two of them said, this is the first time I've ever had tofu. I think it's great and it tastes like chicken.
Wow, that's great.
And that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but okay.
I'll take it.
My work here is done.
There you go.
But, it's just that people, they hadn't tried it. They'd never had it prepared, in a way that they found exciting. It never had crossed their mind to even try it. Mm-hmm. And the whole point with having a vegetarian thing is, I wish we didn't have to call it that even at all. Just call it good.
It's a good dish.
Food.
And have it be something that's described on the menu in the way that people say, that sounds like I want it. When the waiter walks by with it to serve it to someone else, you look at that and go, I want that.
Yep.
That looks good. It's colorful, it's lively. My husband and I had the same story for years and years. He's been a vegetarian longer than I have. And he's a carpenter. So it's the whole story is, the guys are getting lunch, they're getting pizza, and he's like, well, I'm the vegetarian here. And they're like, I have sausage, give me sausage. We'll get you one little small vegetarian pizza. And you better stake that pizza out because those guys are going to eat that pizza before you get any.
Yep.
Because they're going to take one bite of their sausage and one bite of their pepperoni, and then they're going to just see all that color and life force and interesting stuff on that other pizza, and they're going to eat your pizza.
Yeah, they are. It's funny you bring that up too, Robin, as we say so long. When you see a vegetarian, quote-unquote, meal or a pizza, you use the word life force. That's exactly. The colors just come out to you and say, eat me. I'm good for you. They really shout at you.
They shout, but in your mind, you thought, no, I have to have the sausage.
Have the thing and the deal and the other stuff.
It's just a mindset.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. When you call up the Loon Cafe, remember, don't ask for Brian Turner because I might not be there. No, you're going to ask for Ski Dad. You're going to ask for Ski Dad. And if you need any catering done or if you need any stuff going on or whatever, these are the guys to do it, downtown or otherwise. And then also, you're going to a Twins game, you're getting something squared away for other fun downtown, make the Loon Cafe your stop right there on the corner of 1st Avenue and 5th Street, where Lydia's mom and I had our very first date 27 years ago. So I can attest to that. She didn't eat her chili. I finished it, and that pattern has gone on for the last 27 years indeed. And learn more about Robin Asbell and all of her good work in her cookbooks. Robin Asbell, ASBELL.com is the website. What a pleasure having you both here, Robin. Thank you so much.
It's been fun.
Good. I'm glad you had some good stories,
The illustrations on Robin Asbell of all the food is a perfect reason to go on there.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'll see.
She's got it going on.
You'll see that life force. Yep. You'll get hungry with that life force.
Like you say, you see it pass through a dining room. I want to eat that. I want that.
Exactly. Yeah. It
one
calls
of the rules
out
of thumb
to you.
that's been one of my things in the restaurant business for years. If it looks good, it's gonna taste good.
It shouts out at you. All right.
If it looks like crap, it's coming back.
You say that too? Yeah, okay. All right. I mean, catchphrases are sometimes odd. But this one's really good. What do we got here on Foodie Friday, Lydia?
We got a new Foodie Friday coming in hot, always fresh and never stale.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks.